I'm sure you all were on tenterhooks. My dramatic end of last week's episode, where I mentioned that my chainsaw had stopped working and I was waiting for Will to come home and help. You'll see that it's been disassembled. We tried to work out what the problem was, and basically this is the mechanism which puts tension or releases tension from the chain, and it's broke. Essentially there are two, one here and one in there, two little nubs which ride along these tracks, which enable you to tighten or loosen the chain and then keep it in place, but they've worn so that it's impossible to keep the chain tensioned, and it's not something that's easily fixable. The good thing about Ryobi is that they have an excellent warranty. The chainsaw's got a 6-year warranty. The bad thing is I only bought it in January, so it's only 8 months old. But it's replaceable, so I'm going to go into the shops tomorrow, Saturday, and buy myself, well, swap it for a new one. I do find that with the Ryobi tools, I'm on to my second reciprocating saw, maybe my third, or I think my second, and I'm on to my second or third lawnmower. They're not necessarily hugely well built. I think that's reflected in the price. And whilst I don't like to be wasteful, the excellent warranty sort of mitigates against that in a way. I'm not in a position to buy top of the range tools and equipment. That really is hugely expensive, and the batteries themselves are also expensive, so I stick to the Ryobi brand, at least for now, because I've got all those batteries and they're not cheap, and I know that I can rely on the warranty to replace things when they break. If that's not how you want to live your life, then I don't recommend Ryobi as a brand. Maybe go for something, more better built with a better reputation. But to be fair, I do put tools like this chainsaw and my lawnmower and strimmer through more of an ordeal than perhaps the manufacturer intended them to be put through. I'm more or less using my chainsaw every single day for quite heavy work on very, very, very hard wood. These aren't European trees, the eucalypts are very hard wood, and the mower has to go over terrain that it perhaps would prefer not to, in that my garden is so very slopey and uneven and rocky. Anyway, that's where we're at with that. Unfixable, looking to replace, hopefully tomorrow. Welcome to Sunday. Take 2 for Operation Thinning. This is my new chainsaw. I collected it yesterday, it went very well. This is as far as I got with the old chainsaw. These 2 bits of wood and this tree on the ground, so very modest. Anyway, hopefully this chainsaw will serve me for the next few months like the old one. But I tried it and it works, so here we go. Operation Thinning, take 2. That butterfly I just filmed is now over on the camellia. I'm afraid I can't identify it for you. The Buddleia is looking a bit worse for wear at the moment because whilst we were away last week it snowed. Quite a lot of snow. All gone by the time we got back. But I saw photos and there were several inches. Most things are sort of looking a bit crushed. But in spite of how it's looking a bit bedraggled, as I suspected, I didn't prune this in the ordinary way because I could see that it was putting on flowers, and now they're starting to bloom, and you can possibly hear rather than see the ones that are a bit more forward, the slightly more pinky ones, covered in honeybees. As is the camellia, which now has the butterfly on it. But that's exactly why I planted this. I knew it would grow quite large, and so I'd hoped that it would act as screening for the house, which it does. But primarily it was for the birds, well actually no, yeah, the birds, the bees and the butterflies. I have seen a honey eater on here, I beg your pardon, a spinebill on here, so the birds are at it too. The nice thing about this Buddleia as well is the flowers have really, really nice scent, so when they're a bit more forwards even still, I'll be able to take them in for the house. So I was delighted to see that. I'm not sure how that butterfly will fare, it is still winter. It was nice to see it anyway, came to say hello, and it's nice to see this plant doing exactly what I wanted it to do. Welcome to Tuesday. I'm in a part of the woods behind the house, just slightly further towards the house than where I've been working recently for Operation Thinning. This is a really nice stretch of woodland, I really like it. But I wanted to show you this lovely bush, covered in these really pretty white flowers. I had to assume it's an Australian native. I'll look it up in my book, and if I can find out what it is, or sort of close to what it is, I'll flash it up. You may remember I was looking at a really nice ground cover plant a couple of weeks ago. I couldn't find what that was. I realised my book is only flowering plants, and obviously therefore I assume that's not classified as a flowering plant. There's a bit of this dotted around, but this is a particularly big one. It's very pretty. And I think this is one of the benefits of this clearing work. This is a much more thinned part of the property in terms of the woodlands. I assume that's largely because of its proximity to the house. As you go further away from the house and up the hill, the woodland gets worse and worse and worse. So obviously people in the past have focused on what's easiest. I have focused on what's more beneficial. Anyway, there's just a lot more interesting plants, a wider variety. So that's an example of why I'm doing this work that I'm doing. Actually, I just saw another plant if I head down quickly. I assume this is a type of acacia, but I'm not sure. Again, I'll look it up. Acacias don't tend to have these little sort of needle-like leaves, but not that I'm an expert. But certainly these are wattle type flowers, these yellow bobbly flowers. This is coming up all over the place, not just on our property. It's very jolly. By the way, early days on these gloves, they're pretty good, they're not uncomfortable. The only thing that I find is the bionic gloves had grips on the fingers, which I've realised are very, very handy. I actually have to take my gloves off to get my wheelbarrow, which is over there, down the hill, or the handles just slide and it's very unpleasant. So these are quite good, but I don't think I'd buy another pair. I think I'd go back to the bionics, or at least gloves like this but that have grippy fingers. But that's not the only important thing. I'll also let you know sort of how long these last for. That's also a factor. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I just found these ants. living in this bit of tree. They're very, very small. There's my index finger for scale. Aren't they interesting? Well, I'll leave them to it. I don't want to disturb them. How cute is that? I thought I'd just give you a quick workshop update. Put the light on. There we go. These are the finishing touches that Will was working on before I could finish the undercoat, and that was bracing and disguising these corners. Doesn't that look good? Now that's done, maybe even as early as tomorrow I can start on the top coat. I'll show you it when that's done. Where I'm heading to now is my wisteria. You may remember earlier on I gave it a prune down to 5 buds. And now in late winter it's time for its second prune to take it down to 2 buds. This is done partly for the purpose of shaping it, but also to encourage better flowering, so it's well worth doing. And since I've taken this wisteria in hand that we inherited and applied this regime to it, it has flowered better. You can see the buds are progressing quite nicely. So now is my opportunity, my last opportunity really. So I'll just start here and work my way along. Look, they're still at it. Isn't that adorable? Mother and baby. Kangaroos are starting to dissipate. There's a pair that stay here all year round, and they're getting quite territorial and chasing the birds away. You would have just seen that. Anyway, I'm thinking I might wrap up this week's vlog here. Tomorrow I'm basically going to be doing more tree processing, and that's pretty much my aim for tomorrow, so it's not a lot to say about that. Well, unless something exciting happens. Unexpected and exciting. But failing that, just a quick update. All of my staking work is now done. They're much more secure. And this is the lemon that got munched by that very irritating wallaby. Still looking pretty bare. Fingers crossed for that. And I went for a different solution with this lime tree. I will be interested to see if it works. My rationale was, I don't know, a wallaby could get in there, could certainly get its head through the gaps, but my hope is that they won't really want to. They won't like the look and feel with this tape, and this tape sort of moves about, so I'm hoping this will deter the citrus munching wallaby and allow some of these leaves which it ate to start coming back again. We shall see. This giant piece of bubble wrap just wasn't doing it, it just kept sliding down. There'll come a point where I won't really mind when the tree's the size of this orange and lemon, you know, a few leaves here and there. I mean, that's probably equivalent to what I'll be pruning off in a few weeks' time anyway, as part of my spring citrus pruning program. whilst it's this small, that's a much larger proportion of the leaves than I would have liked it to have lost. Before I go, he doesn't like a mother and baby wallaby, and I assume they hopped in together. I think this might be her baby from last year, and you might have just seen its head move. That's her baby from this year. Unless something exciting does happen tomorrow, I will leave it there and see you next week. Bye!